Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
I can't believe it's another year. Pete, did you survive Christmas?
Oh, well, I ate too much.
Ate too much. We all did. Peter Clayton is behind the camera. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Welcome to the garage and another year of the Court of Public Opinion. Now, it's a funny thing. I was thinking the other day that it's been more than 60 years that I've been talking to you. And every Christmas, I think it was I don't know where it began, but that was the time I would always go take time off. You know, the ratings would be off and you had a break, substantial break, so I would take that time off. And every late January, early February that I came back, even after all that time, I would sit in the chair, and as it rolled up to, in most cases, 9 o'clock, but I would sit there and I would think, what happens if I have forgotten how to do this? How embarrassing. Because it could happen. Oh dear. But somehow, miraculously, the little red light goes on and everything sort of comes back. And you remember it all, and thank God the people who listened to the program remembered it all as well. Not that it was the same thing, of course. It was always different and evolving, as the news of the day always is. Pete, I know you were busy over Christmas because you put together this wonderful song.
Yes.
This is your new song.
Yes, The Sweetest Ride. The Sweetest Ride.
The Sweetest Ride. Because Pete and I both like country music, and quite frankly, country life.
Yes.
I don't know how I'm going to sort of get on a horse and do all that sort of thing at my age.
It is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, the trouble is, you see, you get to a certain age, you don't bounce all that well when you come off the horse.
There, well, the idea is you don't come off the horse.
You don't. Well, that's always the idea, don't come off the horse. Anyway, have you got it? You can put it on at the end of the show?
Oh, I would love to.
Okay, let's do that. Pete's newest song, The Sweetest Ride.
Yes.
And he's put so much work into the visuals and the sound. I think you'll love it. We'd love the feedback. So let us know. How can people get a hold of a copy of that, or is it not able? Is it streamed, or is it what?
It will be available on iTunes and in the next day or so, I would think.
But people aren't going to be able to see it anyway.
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube now.
Yes. And it'll be on the end of the Court of Public Opinion.
Yeah, Peter Clayton.
Today.
The Sweetest Ride. It's on
Peter
YouTube.
Clayton, The Sweetest Ride. You want to have a look at it? Lovely work. Congratulations.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Fantastic work. The Australian Open started yesterday. Now that's exercise. And of course a lot of money. The amount of sponsorship dollars involved in sport these days, it's quite unbelievable. That's quite apart from prize money. But anyway, they opened with some new rules which will not please potential demonstrators, I guess. New flag rules. The flag of a player on the court is okay. Supporters supporting that player, okay. Relevant, nothing else. This, of course, is a reaction to the disgusting display at Carols by Candlelight in Melbourne. with the Free Palestine demonstration. What can the people who are in a Christian setting like that possibly do to free Palestine? No, I don't think that it has anything to do with Palestine. It's just about disruption. That's all it is. Just disruption. Hey, look at me. I'll stuff you up. And for some strange reason we tolerate it. I mean, do these people have a day job? I doubt it. Do they contribute to society? Well, they think they do. No, it's disrupting the life of ordinary, peace-loving people. And we don't want the conflicts being experienced in the other side of the world, on the other side of the world, to come here, do we? The countdown to Australia Day is on, ladies and gentlemen. More to say in a minute or two. But something I saw the other day which tickled my fancy, I don't know why. Pepe Le Pew. Pete, do you remember Pepe Le Pew?
I love Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew. You know, he's 79 years old.
Is he?
He is. January 1945 was his first appearance. The world's most popular, most recognised skunk. But sadly...
He's banned.
Well, sadly, political correctness did what time could not. No, they couldn't. They had to get rid of Pepe Le Pew because he was harassing the cat, who was a boy who got a paint mark on his back, and Pepe thought he was... You've seen it over and over again. But every time I saw it, it was so funny. The story didn't vary. It was it Sylvester? I can't think who the cat was.
I know, it didn't have a name, I don't think.
No.
Mon Chéri.
Mon Chéri. He was a romantic skunk with a couple of personal hygiene problems. Anyway, I identify with Pepe because we're the same age. Now, here's something. The first ever pet census. Never heard of one of these before. 4.3 million Victorians have 4.3 million pets. Now, I don't think that can be right, because people who have pets may have 2 or 3 or 4. Anyway, let's just say there are 4.3 million pets in Victoria, including 83,000 reptiles. Who would have thought? And this is the bit that's interesting. People spend, this is just Victoria, people spend $6.6 billion on food and maintenance for those pets. God knows what the figure would be nationally. Now, the ups and the downs to begin the new year. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and a fantastic new year, entering 2024 as we all have. Thank you for staying with us and coming back to view our court of public opinion from the garage, and hopefully to listen to our live streaming show, which begins again on Friday. One of my special guests on Friday will be Blakey, John Blake from 5AA. God knows why they let him go. Oh, God knows. Anyway, we'll have to ask John. I'm sure he knows. Anyway, that's Friday 9 to 12 live streaming, jeremycordeaux.com. Now, some of the things, the ups and the downs to begin the new year. Inflation, this great cancer of the currency, this evil, is down from a peak of 8.4%. It's down to 4.3%, being the latest figure last week. Quarterly figures, which are the more reliable ones, because that takes in a larger period of time, out on the 31st of January. But not an indicator that the hikes are over, but that the hikes worked. They did their job. The Reserve Bank deserves praise. Supermarket prices up. More to say about that later on. Predictably, electricity and gas up. Thank you, Mr. Albanese. COVID cases, sadly, significantly up. The latest JN1 strain, which is the big problem. But I understand that vaccine will be out very soon, if not right now. Real estate rentals, well, you can't get much in a capital city, apartment, a flat, something like that. $600 to $700 a week. Doesn't buy much either. Up 20%. Is that gouging or is that what? Taking advantage of? Capital city property values increased 8% in the last year. Property's a great investment if you can afford it. It used to be 3 times what one would earn in a year. Now it's 7 or 8 times what one would earn in a year. It doesn't always go up, of course. The year before, valuations dropped to -4. In fact, they were literally 4% down on where they were the year before. And before that, they had jumped 24%. And by the way, despite all the government huffing and puffing about building 1 million new homes, you must have heard this, 1 million new homes, in the last 3 months, building approvals, this is done by government, building approvals were down significantly. Now, to meet the target of 1.1 million new homes from where we are now, the rate of construction will have to increase by almost 50%. Impossible. Another broken government promise, I suspect. And I noticed this one too, which was interesting. In Australia, the Black Friday sales took $36 billion. So I would think Black Friday sales are here to stay. I didn't go Black... Pete, did you go Black Friday buying or selling?
No.
I don't know. Don't understand it. I keep away from crowds. Maybe that's why the COVID thing's jumping along. Woolworths, who also own Big W, this is the big talking point at the moment, I suspect. Woolworths will no longer support Australia Day merchandise, citing a lack of interest. Keeping in mind the number of these idiot corporates who supported The Voice. You know, I'm talking about the biggest companies in the country. I'm talking about the biggest banks in the country. All supported The Voice. I don't know what that says about their judgment. Last year, I remember Kmart made a similar mistake about Australia Day and then had to backflip quickly. I mean, if you were going to do it, you'd shut up about it. You wouldn't put it out there on the street, would you? So people like me and others can comment on it. I mean, you've got a lot of negative stuff being generated, Mr. Woolworths. If I was a shareholder, I'd be telling these people to stick to their knitting. Keep out of politics and protests. Strangely enough, Woolworths was displaying happy, now I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Diwali Day. I think it's Diwali. Happy Diwali. The Indian National Day. The Indian National Day. So no to Australia Day, but Diwali is a big deal at Woolworths. Scandalous. Absolutely scandalous. The majority of Australians recognise Australia Day and respect it. And of course rejected The Voice. I'm sure even Woolworths can join the dots. And by the way, there's nothing more Australian than an Australian pub. And Woolworths happen to own quite a few of them. I have a report from a staff member of one of the Woolworths-owned hotels that they had been told not to wear or show any patriotic clothing on Australia Day. They must be mad. Are they trying to be the social conscience or the moral compass of this country? That's not their job. The Prime Minister says that he has no plans to change Australia Day, ever. Well, I don't really think he's going to be there that long to be pledging things forever, but anyway. I tend to judge the man on his actions and not his words. The Albanese Government changed the rules, quietly, I would say surreptitiously, to allow local councils to cancel their citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day. But he has no plans to change Australia Day. But he's not going to be against other people doing it. 81 councils, the lefties, the Greens, have now taken up the offer, or the directive. This is according to Google, you can check it yourself. This is republicanism by stealth. We have a minister and an assistant minister for the Republic. What republic? What do they do as a minister and an assistant minister for something that doesn't exist? The latest figures on citizenship too are interesting. Most people up on Citizenship Day, getting their treasured piece of citizenship paper, nearly 70% failed the basic test, which was based on Australian values. Australian values. A few years ago it was the other way around. It was 70% passed. Now this is our fundamental problem. It really is. You don't have to watch the news or join us here in the Court of Public Opinion. We have African and Middle Eastern gangs roaming around the major cities of this country, violent, lawless and angry, because this government is weak on Australian values and doesn't mind if these refugees are the same. I can't help but join the dots and come to that conclusion. And my reference is Labor's disdain for Australia Day. And just on the day, now this is important, please, because I've seen so much rubbish about this, on the day, it's about the Nationality and Citizenship Act of 1949. Let me tell you again, Australia Day is celebrated on the 26th of January because up until the 26th of January 1949, not 1788, 1949, we were British subjects and we travelled on a British passport. We became a nation independent of Great Britain on the 26th of January 1949. Nothing to do with invasion, the First Fleet or 1788.
And Jeremy, just to remind people, the First Fleet did not arrive on the 26th of January.
No, that was Sydney Cove.
Yeah.
It arrived in Botany Bay.
No, nothing arrived on the 26th of January. Nothing arrived on the 26th of January.
This was the day they hoisted the flag and they read the proclamation.
There's dispute about that even. But there was certainly, the first fleet did not arrive in Australia on the 26th of January. I think it was over a few days. 20th of January was one of the days.
Well, they went to Botany Bay first and then decided the harbour was not sufficient or adequate. They came back down to Sydney Cove. Now, my understanding of it was that the day they came ashore, because my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was there. And
it's not the 26th of January.
Well, I don't know how to argue with you because my understanding...
No, I read up on it. No, it's not.
Well, we'll put our heads together afterwards and you can tell me why you think that. But regardless of the date, the year, because this is what they argue about, that it's reminding people of invasion and that kind of thing. I think that the 26th of January was a nod, a passing nod to that year in 1788. But nothing more. I mean, it's the obvious day, the date to celebrate our National Day. It's the day we became a nation on the 26th of January 1949. And if Aboriginals don't like that, frankly, I don't care. We are a democracy, and what 3% of the population say doesn't cut it for me. Anyway, we're only talking about a handful of activists who probably wouldn't even be heard except for the likes of the ABC. And of the 3% of the Aboriginal population, it's only a small percentage of those people that would have any opinion on Australia Day. So why are we getting our knickers in a knot over nothing? We're allowing ourselves to be jerked around by a whole bunch of people who do not wish this country well. Now, Pete and I will go away and we'll have a look at that 26th of January 1788, because I have the picture of my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather in his blue jacket. He was, in fact, Pete, he was the first man ashore.
Well, see, that's amazing.
From the Lady Penrhyn on that day, as I understand it. But there was great controversy because he was carried ashore by a convict who claimed that he was the first man to put his foot on Australian soil. They did admittedly ignore all the Aboriginals. But, you know, I mean, how do 43 redcoats with muskets invade and capture a whole country when you've got 10,000 Aboriginals standing around with spears? If they'd wanted to push the invaders back into the sea, they could have bloody well done it. Anyway, but by the by, thank you very much for being with us back in the new year in the Court of Public Opinion. Pete and I will be back tomorrow, but we want you to look at Pete's new song, which is called The Sweetest Ride, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is. Take it away, Pete.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Looking down the barrel or the hangman's noose, comes a time when you've just got to choose. A blue train's coming and there's no turning back. You've got to move or there'll be blood on the tracks. Frank did it his way and I did the same. So in the end I've got no one to blame. Like a river's got to run its course. When I felt I got back on the horse, when I weigh it all up and it all comes down, I've lived for love and love I found. I made mistakes and it was hard sometimes to keep a focus on the end of the line, but I made it through to the other side. To love a woman was the sweetest ride. right, I got some things wrong. My life story's written down in song. Such is life, Ned Kelly would say, as he stood on the gallows at the end of the day. The look of love in a lover's eyes, two hearts that beat as one. Lovers wrapped in each other's arms, love is true as the rivers run. When I weigh it all up and it all comes down, I live for love and love I found. I made mistakes and it was hard sometimes to keep a focus on the end of the line, but I made it through to the other side. To love a woman was the sweetest ride. To love a woman was the sweetest ride.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.